What is up, everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231. It is Thursday, January 14th, and here for another episode of FSI NBA's Starting Five. Looking forward to this slate. It's actually not a COVID slate for the Rockets. It's a mega blockbuster. James Harden got traded, and then John Wall is sitting out, and thus we have a ton of value there. We do have the COVID-ridden Heat, and that value is still there. But overall, it should be a really good slate. I am really anxious to see how owned the Rockets guys go, and if it's the right Rockets guys that get the ownership. I think the two I'm going to outline there, Sterling Brown and Jaylen Tate, are probably my two favorites. I think Christian Wood's going to get a lot of ownership or a lot of talk too, and he's certainly in the conversation for me as well. Just going to, ultimately depend on build. And I think a lot of it will actually depend on, is Tyler Herro a must for you? I think in cash games or like an optimal build, he's a must for me. But I think especially if Philly rolls out their normal starting five. So if Tobias Harris is back, if Ben Simmons is ready, I do think that fading Herro at 7,300 is in play. It takes some stones. It could 100% backfire. But, he got kind of stymied for a lot of last game until the end. Between the last, I want to say it's 7 minutes of the fourth quarter and overtime, I think, he doubled his DK production. So there's a route to him failing, I guess, would be my thought. Or I'm almost positive I'm going to do my secondary GPP line. I'm going to be fading Herro. So I guess that's why I'm already prepping it, even though I'm going to still talk about him in the starting five. Because, again, reminder, starting five is for optimal cash game type of builds. You're going to see Tyler Herro at one of the highest ownerships on the slate. So I definitely recommend to play him in those type of formats, but just understand in your large field, lottery type of GPPs that he might be a really good ownership fade. All right, let's jump into it. Just a quick reminder, bottom right of the screen is the subscribe button. If you have not hit that already, we would greatly appreciate if you did. Just a reminder, all the awesome stuff on our channel. We had PGA, got posted Wednesday morning for this morning's event. Already looked down at my lineups and saw a couple of the plays that John and TK outlined are doing very well. We had Chris, second day of NHL, doing an awesome job there. We got the NBA. I'll be dropping EPL tomorrow. So just tons of stuff. We've got you fully covered at FSI. So hit the subscribe button. Promise you will not regret it. All right, let's go top to bottom. No preference on these plays, just how they are out on my screen. So I'm going to start with Gabe Vincent. Was absolutely phenomenal for Miami in relief of, whether you want to say he's in relief of Dragic, whether he's in relief of Butler, does not Avery Bradley, all these guys. But he got to take 20 shots versus Philly. What was it? 2 nights ago on Tuesday, 36 minutes. So, take off overtime. I can't remember looking how much overtime he played, but even if let's say it's 5 minutes, he's still playing 30 minutes, 20 shots, 4,200. Gabe Vincent's a shooter. We actually saw this last season when he got opportunities. He was scoring too. 4,200. I was really wondering if they would jack him up to 5,000, 5,500. I don't think they caught up fast enough. So 4,200, I'm locking Gabe Vincent into my lineups. And the other good thing about Gabe Vincent is he's probably going to get garbage time run. So even if this game does blow out, which is a very strong possibility with Philly now looking back to full strength, I think at 4,200 he can pay off the tag. All right, second, we already talked about Tyler Herro a lot. Let's just talk about the stats and why he's going to be so owned. 26 and 20 shots in the 2 COVID games so far. Actually, I'm sorry. Washington was not even a COVID game. Jimmy Butler was there. So Tyler Herro, we know from the bubble, is an absolute baller. He's playing a lot of point, so he's going to get more playmaking opportunities. You got to love that Herro. In addition to taking 26 shots, is hitting the glass, so 7 boards, 4 assists. Look, he's just a really good player. So especially on FanDuel at 6,500, I don't even know if it's worth the fade there, just by the way that rosters are being constructed. But on DK at 7,300, again, in an optimal cash build, no, I'm not fading. Probably the first guy I actually searched for and clicked in. But I do think that there is a strong merit in JPP and the mean, I don't remember if it's $15 or $20 or whatever it was. And that type of event, anytime somebody's going to be 60, 70, 80% owned, even if Herro doesn't fail, If he hits 35 to 40, that is a fine game. But if you are able to leverage off of him at 7,300 and pivot to somebody else, yesterday I did not have Luka, stupid me. Yet I got De'Aaron Fox, who, for a lot cheaper in the way that construction still was able to make it into cash. It was just a min cash. You needed Luka to do anything special. But my point of that is if you can find the pivot or the combination of pivots that his salary frees up and you can make up for the chalk combo that Herro plus X player is, you have a huge leg up in GPP. So it's just something to keep in mind. But for cash, optimal, single entry type of contest, yes, Herro, lock and load, still very much like it. Sterling Brown is where I'm starting to get really excited about the slate, and I just hope that the industry isn't too sharp, that I haven't looked at anything that anybody else has put out. No previews. I do all that a little bit closer to lock. But Sterling Brown, phenomenal player, like for DFS. You can see just in the last 3 when he's gotten some minutes, 18, 13, and 18, he's put double digits in all of them. Back to Milwaukee days when they would just have like the complete scrubs time, we would see Sterling Brown drop 40 DK sometimes. So I think he's going to play a decent amount of point guard. I think he's going to have usage through the roof. I don't know who else on Houston can make plays now that Eric Gordon's out, John Wall's out, James Harden's long gone. Like, who the hell? Chris Clemens, who the first guy I looked for when I saw John Wall out, and he's out. So who else is going to make plays? I think it's going to be Sterling Brown. He should have some. I don't know if he played blowout. I know I'm going to get that question tonight in our FSI Discord. I don't know. I know he's 3,000, and I know even if the game blows out, more than likely than not, he's already sitting at 25 or 30 DK in the third quarter before he even goes out. So Sterling Brown for me, love the player, love the price, love that he's small forward eligible, love everything about it. Sterling Brown, just lock him in your lineups. All right, Jaylen Tate, the next guy. So I give Keats, who does the videos with me when I'm not doing them. My other FSI NBA partner put us on to Jaylen Tate in preseason, long before it was cool to do so. We got him multiple slates at like 1% to 2% before people really caught on. Really good player. He is very much part of the rotation already. So now I think that in a lot of ways, it might just be like Tate, Brown, and McLemore doing a lot of the wing type of things with Christian Wood, obviously, I think being the focal point of the offense. But Jaylen Tate, I think, is very much going to be in play for a big game here. We've seen him, even with all the studs, do well. 16, 23, 15, 13.5, 15.5. Like, very consistent player here, right? 3,300, should start, should mash. I think would even have a chance to play in blowouts. So 3,300 is just too cheap. Jaylen Tate, lock for me. And finally, we're going to end with a precious play. I know that was beyond cheesy, but just deal with it. Like, I do bad dad jokes. Like, ask FSI Soccer Room. Like, it's my stick. So anyhow, Precious Chua. I don't watch enough Heat games to know if that's how I say his last name right. So feel free to comment if I butchered it. But Precious, 4,400. Everybody, the entire industry was all over him. Lastly, what did he end up being at? 3,100. Nice little, what is that? 13x? Something like that. 13x. Yes, he went up to 4,400. Probably should have been 5,400. 36 minutes, 13 boards, 3 assists, 1 block. Here's the thing. Much like Jaylen Tate, even when he wasn't getting the upgrade and wasn't getting extra minutes and extra usage, he was still doing very, very well in limited roles. Give him the bigger role, and he just blows up. So 4,400 Precious Chua, my other starting 5. Now look down at that starting 5. You have $9,266 on average available for your last 3 slots. So you're getting the best of the best plays. I just kind of want to just talk about, I think a big thing is going to be like, you can use Precious down here at forward. Is Jokic versus Embiid. So when I started out in the morning, first research, and DK on the apps, their stupid red questionable sign, which when I'm looking at stuff on the bike at 5:30 a.m., I cannot tell the difference. That's why I'm like so tilted about it. But I saw the Q sign. I guess I thought it was the out sign for Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is probable. I do think that could hurt Embiid a little bit, hurt his ceiling, because Tobias Harris is going to get his. Here's the thing. The matchup is just so good. Kelly O, Silva, Precious. Nobody could do anything about Embiid last game. That's why he blew up for, 82.5 DK. The blowout is a concern. Tobias being back is a concern. 10,000 being pretty much, the peak Joel Embiid price even from last season. That's a concern. All that said, if he doesn't hit like 50 DK, I'd be shocked. But I do think that that him versus Jokic is really close. And then if you factor in the discount versus Christian Wood is really close too. In reality is you probably only can play 2 of those guys if you decide to go 2 center. Or, are you going to go to guard? Are you going to spend up for Curry? I'm very careful of back-to-backs. So Dame Lillard is a little bit of a concern with me. I'd much rather prefer Steph Curry. I think Sabonis is in a phenomenal spot, without Oladipo. So you have Brogdon and Sabonis taking up a ton of usage. There are just a ton of studs and a ton of places you can go tonight with all the savings. Should be a fun slate. Mix and match. Consider, do not feel obligated, but consider fading some chalk and trying to find some different routes in GPPs so that you can do what you're supposed to do in GPPs. GPPs, and this is what we'll end on, are not about min cashing. If you are playing a GPP to min cash, you are doing it wrong. Go for the top. Go for the big win. Otherwise, play like low stakes GPPs. I'm going to do a video series about that. Alternative, cash games being like the $1.25 GPPs. That'll be for another day. But if you're going to play the main 100K to first thing, go for the win. Don't go for the min cash. Good luck. I hope this helps you get that win. And with that, Keith, a.k.a. Gator Guy 231, and I'll say, see you!